Why does it take 6 months to 12 months to go through? And what are things to do in order to, allow the government say, okay, easier? Just curious.
Okay. Okay. Because
Hey everyone, Darren here. Last July, we have covered the Malaysian real estate market with Amos, which he did a fantastic job in it. Today, we'll also cover the Malaysian real estate market with our mutual friend Jensen. Compared to the Amos episode, Jensen is going to tell us more about the commercial side, the industrial side, and how to invest in the land for foreign investors. So he can treat this as a round two and also have a different point of view on this topic. Without further ado, please meet Jensen and have a great one. Thank you.
Well, Jensen, welcome to the show.
hi. Yes. Hi, Darren.
Yeah. So, I want to tell the audience how I know you, and then before this interview, because I know you through a really good friend of mine called Harold, and then he told me about you because I was trying to find someone from Malaysia to talk about the real estate market, and then it's just funny because after all along back and forth, I finally have a conversation with you, and then in a better world, I wish to have a beer with you, talk about each other, because the whole notion of this whole Denzity insight is that relax a little bit, talk about what's going on, and then I really wish the audience to know more about the Malaysian market and what to do if they come to invest in your area.
Yes. Thank you for actually having me here.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah.
Would you mind telling the audience a bit about yourself and then your work?
Okay. Firstly, I'm actually working for both companies in Malaysia, in Johor Bahru. Okay, it's just right next to Singapore. Okay. I am working for a property development company called Capital World Limited. Okay. So I'm doing sales and marketing for the company. And on the other hand, I'm actually doing the real estate, practicing my real estate agent license in SLP Malaysia, which is an international company. And we have more than 40 projects in Malaysia by itself, residential, and 70 industrial projects in Malaysia. So I'm actually doing 7 days a week.
That's good. Yeah. That's a real estate life. No,
Yeah.
Because I've done an interview with your really good friend of yours, Amos, and then before that I was thinking about it's very interesting because a lot of investors or audiences watching this are already residential, but commercial, industrial is something that we obviously want to cover. And at the same time is that you want to know people what's going on in different sectors that maybe they consider that, hey, you know what, let's find something, a very small commercial building or a very small industrial buildings or a floor of it. And so this conversation is more about residential, commercial, industrial, and other opportunities that these people want to know more what's going on in Malaysia. So let's get straight to it. So for the audience who might not know familiar with Malaysia, what are the area which overseas investor tend to be interested in? And then would you mind giving the audience a bit more about the neighborhood and getting the audience know about the bigger picture, what's going on?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so basically there's this thing called the NAPIC. These are data from the NAPIC. Okay, there's actually 3 areas. NAPIC is NAPIC. It's actually a government statistical website for Malaysia where you can find all your information regarding properties. So these 3 cities that I'm about to say, they have the most international awareness, as well as all the MNCs are basically in these 3 major cities. Okay, so I'll compare it with cities in China. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Kuala Lumpur, which is like Beijing in China. So Kuala Lumpur, all the MNCs are in, and it's the capital of Malaysia. So that's the first place where overseas investors would actually look into. All right, and secondly, we are looking at Johor Bahru, which comparatively is Shenzhen to Hong Kong. So basically, Johor Bahru is Shenzhen and Hong Kong is Singapore. So Johor Bahru is actually just right next to Singapore, and it's about 20 minutes drive from the bridge, across the bridge. Okay, so a lot of the MNCs, a lot of Singapore companies are in Johor Bahru as well. This is where people focus on their investments on. And the third one, it's actually an up north city called Penang. That one, we can compare it to, let's say, Hangzhou in China. So it's culture, it's a tourist destination, and of course, then a lot of investments are actually there. So a lot of the investors actually look into these three places because the price appreciation is good, the rental return are good, and these are the three major big cities in Malaysia.
I see.
Yeah.
Actually, like, have you been to China before? It sounds like you're familiar with the country.
Yeah, I've actually been to China like 4 or 5 times. Yeah.
I see.
For business and for leisure. Yeah.
Because it's good that because obviously this channel we're from Hong Kong, and then a lot of people might not been to Malaysia before, and actually might have been to Beijing or like Hangzhou or other places. So it's a really good comparison that people understand what's going on. So for the audience that might be interested in Malaysia real estate, would you mind giving them like an update of the market? And then, I'm aware that we talked about before, like not only that you've done residential, you do commercial and then retail and industrial and other asset class. Like obviously, I'm not gonna ask you to do like a 3 hours deep dive about what's going on. Would you mind kind of like cover a little bit about each property type?
Yeah, of course. Happy to do that. Okay, basically, what we got from the government statistical website as well, from 2016 to 2019, just last year, okay, property prices have been going upwards, okay, upward trend, okay. So interestingly, there's actually 2 main types of property. I don't know about Hong Kong, but in here, it's actually called retail and commercial are actually bonded into one. We call it commercial in Malaysia. Okay. So so for commercial, there's actually a very good trend in Kuala Lumpur, which is worth noticing. It's because in the Kuala Lumpur area, whereby office lots, like they sell the entire building, they sell the office lots to individual landlords. Okay, this is actually gaining traction because of the co-working space around in Kuala Lumpur and stuff, and they have about more than 90% occupancy. So if anyone is actually looking into investing in commercial lot in Malaysia, that could be something to dive in, something to dig into. And we go into residential lots, okay? Interestingly, as of now, there's about 130,000 residential lots, whether they are completed or whether they are not completed, that are still on the market, okay? 130,000 in the entire region.
That's a lot.
So, yeah. So for anyone who actually wants to dive into investing in a residential property in Malaysia, that's what they have a lot of options along the lines. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
So like obviously, right? Like you cover like 3 main places from Malaysia, and then there's a huge country, right? And then obviously this channel is talk about a little bit, the little dirt or little like insight that no one thought about before. So one thing I always ask, like a lot of interview, is that are there any popular areas or types of properties that you think are overrated or underrated at the same time?
Okay, I am gonna be very frank. I'm from Malacca myself. Malacca is actually a historical city, but the investments there, it's quite overrated. Malacca itself, okay, it's basically 1.5 hours away from Kuala Lumpur. Why? Because fundamentally, Malacca as a city, it has only 600 to 700,000 population, which the spending power, the affordability of the people living in Malacca cannot cater for the price appreciation of properties. So, although yes, Malacca is a UNESCO, a heritage area, it's a touristic place and stuff, but in terms of investing a property, a commercial or residential property in Malacca, is actually slightly overrated. Yeah, because you don't really get the rental returns and you don't really get the price appreciation because the population is small. And so,
I see. No, that's good because I actually never heard of that before. No, it's good. It's really good.
I actually feel bad. Yeah, I actually feel bad saying about my own city. But
well, you gotta separate that, right? Like as a rational investors, you gotta try to suppress the emotion and really think about what's your money, because a lot of investors they think too much about the emotion but neglect that what's practicality, and sometimes that the money is for your savings, for your family, for your like retirement. So it's something that to be aware of, right? So it's good that you pointed out, and I'm sure you say it out loud because you just want audience to know more about what is the better choice in terms of what's overrated or not, and it's their choice to think about if that's true or not too. So just when we first started, right? You talk about like residential, you have two different company you work for, and there's commercial, there's retail, there's industrial. There's so many different focus, right? Like something that like I want to know personally too. Like how do you manage to keep in touch with so many different markets and so many different types?
To be honest, it's impossible to keep up with the entire Southeast Asian market, not let alone even in Malaysia. But fortunately, I've been working. 7 days a week, I'm working with developers. Hanging out with property agents, property people who work in property. So I get all this information from bits and pieces of information from WhatsApp, from emails, from Facebook and stuff. So, but the bottom line is this: property, it's always supply and demand, which pushes the price up and down. So basically, the bread and butter to a property investment is actually the foresight to the market and what you think of the market. So it's really hard to catch up. It's really hard to follow all the markets at once. But if you really have the heart to actually invest or learn about the market, you can actually learn it from all the information that are readily available online.
Yeah, like this platform.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
exactly.
Pretty much.
Because I think I told you about my background, right? I used to work for a fund that, we work in like a Paris market. We work in UK and Japan, and then I have so many things that I'm not really good at it because there's so many things going on. That's why I want to personally ask you too, because maybe some investors, like the audience at the moment, are like looking to 3 or 4 different places or 4 different areas in Malaysia that might be just hard to keep in touch. So which comes to the next one, right? Like, and obviously like Denzity obviously try to bridge the gap. What other places can the audience learn more about the Malaysia real estate market?
Right now we're all connected via internet. Okay, so the biggest 2 websites, you can find a link. The biggest 2 websites in Malaysia, legit websites, is propertyguru.com as well as iproperty.com. Okay, so but these places, there are a lot of information crowded around. You have a lot of price, and there's a lot of agents and a lot of advertisements on it. So still, yes, you can find a property from there. You can use the website as a reference, but most importantly, you have to find a trusted party in the locality itself, in Malaysia itself, to actually, if you really want to invest in Malaysian properties. I think that's why that city was born, to actually build this.
Hopefully. Yeah. First of all, if iproperty.com or Property Guru listen to this, pay me advertising, please. We should get some advertising costs. But this is something that like interesting, right? It's because like a lot of places are hard to find. So hopefully there's more different medium. So but Denzity.
Of course.
So like I said before, right? I want to introduce you, and then I told the audience about, I know you through Harold, right? And then both of you and Harold used to study abroad in Australia. Like, have you done any work or keep up in the Australian market? And then obviously, the reason why I'm asking is because I wanted to know, like, if you learn so much about real estate in Malaysia, can you apply that kind of thinking in Australia, different markets?
The fundamental, yes. I graduated since 2015, and I graduated since 2011. Worked for 4 years in Australia in the retail industry. Okay. Then I came back to Malaysia since 2015. So I've never caught up with the market at all in Australia.
I see.
But I think fundamentally, fundamentally, properties are the same in Malaysia and in Australia, as in the price goes up and down and stuff. But the thinking and the transaction and the process is totally different in Australia. They have open houses there. They have private viewing. auctions whereby you can just drive the price up. But in Malaysia, it's totally different. We do not have that kind of system. So
Really? Oh.
yes and no. Yeah. We do
How
not have
come?
those kinds of systems.
So there's no overviewing and stuff like that? There's no such thing?
No. There's
Really?
no open auction. Yeah. There's no open auction.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's no private viewing and stuff before the auction.
So when I invest, how will I know like if that asset is good? Like just wondering, you know, like how, let's say this, right? How do you assess the credential or the real estate asset?
Okay, interestingly, for auction properties in Malaysia, for properties that are on auction in Malaysia, are basically properties that requires fire sale, meaning the landlord has gone bankrupt, or meaning the landlord is in need of cash to repay debt.
Oh, the foreclosure. Okay.
Foreclosure. Yeah. So auction, but these type of properties you can't actually go inside to view all the properties. Even if you really want to buy it, you cannot just go in and find the sentimental value, whether it's a property good, whether it's in the property bad.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So question, right? So can I hire someone else, like an appraiser or surveyor, to look into it, or another due diligence kind of like party to do that, or no one can do it?
You can hire, but then no one is allowed to actually enter the property itself.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes,
okay,
that is actually for auction properties. But for private properties which are on sale on the open market, you can actually do that.
Oh, you
actually
can
just go home, private viewing.
Oh, that's good.
Yes,
okay,
right.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. It's not just that's an interesting question, right? Because I was like, wow, you cannot see what I want to buy. It's like, hey, you know, maybe it's Bentley, right? Bentley is like, you know, people always joke around saying that like, oh, you know, you can't try it until you buy it. So it's just interesting. But like, you know, so I was wondering too, right? In your experience, have you worked with different people with different nationality in terms of like investors? Because I always want to know like different investors, like Malaysian investors, Chinese investors, or other different culture. Like, do they act differently, or the way they look at real estate is differently?
In the tenure, I basically deal more with investors from Singapore or from Malaysia. So only these two countries. So mainly people from Singapore or Malaysia. Yeah. But basically everyone is looking for the cheapest deal at the best location.
Oh, so this straight up, that's what they want.
Yeah, straight up. That's it. No bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How about like for self-use or investment only? Do they think about it differently?
With self-use, they would actually buy at a location which they actually prefer. All right. But for investment, I've met a lot of investors throughout the entire my career. Investors that actually they don't look at like how beautiful is the house or how many square feet and stuff. Investors, they go for the ROI. They go for the return on investment. How much they can make in a year. So the aesthetic of the house are not the concern for these people. Yeah.
And does that apply to residential and commercial as well, like for different asset class?
Yeah, totally.
I see.
Totally.
Okay. Because I know some people who even like the investment only, they still want to like, they think it's beautiful and everything. So I think there's always different people, different way of looking at it. So I'm just wondering that.
Yes, but that's from my own judgment, from my own opinion. Yeah.
So like, you know, obviously this channel is more about overseas investors. So I'm sure they will be interested to know about the limitations. Is there any limitation for overseas investors? And what kind of things do they need to be aware of when investing in Malaysia?
Okay, surprisingly, in Malaysia, a foreigner can actually own 100% of a property. There's no restriction whatsoever. However, in most of the cities in Malaysia, you can only foreigners can only purchase houses which are 1 million ringgit and above. 1 million, that's the bottom line. So that's your minimum price to purchase a property. Okay, and of course, there's something to note for properties in Malaysia. In every single neighborhood or every single project, there's always 30 to 40% which are reserved for the Bumi Putras in Malaysia. And Bumi Putras are like the aboriginals of Malaysia.
Understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So 40% is reserved for that. So make sure if overseas investors, they would like to make a deposit down in Malaysia, buy your property, make sure it's not a Bumi Putra status title. Okay, if not, you can never have the property. And of course, and of course, if foreigners want to lend from a bank in Malaysia, a Malaysian bank, the margin of finance that you can get is only 70%. So say if you're borrowing 1 million ringgit from the bank, so I mean if the house price is 1 million ringgit, okay, you can only get 700,000 worth of loan from the bank. That's the maximum. Yeah, so that's this certain threshold and stuff.
I see. So like like Malaysia obviously is the growth. I'm sure you see the growth coming up for the past couple of years and everything. Where do you think we are in the market? And then how's it like, in your opinion, it's going to be like in the next 3 years' time?
I actually did a little bit of research on this.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically according to the, I'm drilling it off here.
No worries.
Okay, yeah. According to data on World Bank, okay, Malaysia is actually Malaysia is actually 24th place in terms of the ease of doing business in the globe. Okay, so it makes it a very internationalized economy, and it makes it very diversified in export and import. And of course, the geography location of Malaysia is actually quite strategically located between China as well towards Europe and America, the One Belt One Road initiative. So
I see.
Yeah, that's why. So in the next 3 to 5 years, okay, we can see an increasing foreign MNCs being in Malaysia. So that would actually drive the entire property market up. Despite what's going on from COVID, of course, COVID is some extra anomalies which happens then and there. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. So what other tips and advice you don't mind sharing with the audience when it comes to choosing different regions in Malaysia?
Okay. So in terms of if you are actually looking to settle in Malaysia, looking to buy an investment in Malaysia, if you're actually a foreigner, okay, the first thing you need to do is you need to see what sort of area you're looking for, which city you're feeling more comfortable with. So let's say it's Beijing. Let's say in terms of the China market, let's say it's Beijing, it's Hangzhou, whatever. So secondly, you need to differentiate, because in Malaysia there's something very interesting. It's either rental income, which is high, it's like a dividend, or it's actually price depreciation, which is high. So you need to, in terms of investing, you need to understand if you want rental income, which is normally in Malaysia, commonly it's apartment, which has been a centralized location, or you want price appreciation, which you look for landed properties in Malaysia. So my advice is go do research online, but do engage a trusted person in Malaysia to purchase your property, and then that way you can for sure know that it's a good investment and stuff.
I see. So like I think that like just now you mentioned that I think a foreign investor can also own 100%. So I guess that is freehold. That means the land as well. So if an investor is interested in purchasing land, what is the challenge and things that to be aware of when it comes to that?
Okay, there is 2 lands which cannot be purchased by overseas investors, foreigners. One, agricultural land, and second is Malay reserve land.
Okay.
These 2 lands are definitely off the chart for foreigners. Okay, but one thing that is the most challenging in terms of purchasing a land in Malaysia is actually getting the state government's consent. With every purchase of every single land in Malaysia, you have to apply to an application to write into state government applying, why are you buying this land for? Is it for building properties? Is it for building factories and stuff? And the approval could be 6 months to 2 or 3 years.
That's a long time. Jesus. All right.
Yeah. So that would jeopardize their cash flow and stuff. I mean, for foreign investors who wants to buy land in Malaysia, that is something to look out for, and that is a challenge. Yeah.
So just two questions I have with that, right? Let's start with the first one. What dictates a land is agriculture use? Number two is that, so you said it's 6 months to 2 years, right? What are things that, why would it take so long? Like, what kind of things are people looking at that would be better when it comes to purchasing land? Like, what other tips do you have?
The first question is regarding what dictates an agricultural land.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. What dictates as an agricultural land? It's from the zoning planning of the state government, because state government actually plans the entire zoning of the city and the town. Okay. So certain lands are already reserved for agricultural. So for the rubber plantations, for rubber plantations, and what was the other one? But yeah, so these lands are already defined as agricultural. So you cannot, foreigners can't purchase that property.
Understand.
Yeah.
So for the second one, right? How about why does it take 6 months to 12 months to go through? And what are things to do in order to, allow the government say, okay, easier? Just curious.
Okay. Because every single application that needs to be submitted in, there's actually an entire very lengthy process to say yes to different plannings. Okay, so 6 to 24 months, it's a ballpark. It's a ballpark. Sometimes it takes even longer.
All right.
So if you have a well planned out planning for your building constructions and stuff, and if you know, that's about it. Yeah.
Next time we'll grab a drink and we'll ask the same question again. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, so okay. Now I have one more. I think this conversation is great because I have a lot of questions regarding that. So let's say this, right? Let's say an investor, the audience that have the money, a little bit more money, to consider different asset class. Like for example, let's say, hey, I don't have to put money in residential. I can put money in industrial, commercial, and so on. Which type would you suggest them to consider if they can do that?
Which type of investment costs?
Investment cost. Like if an investor have the means to choose different type of, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So let's say this, right? For example, if I have a little bit of money that I can consider different asset class, commercial, industrial, retail, like many more residential.
Yeah.
Which type of property type would you suggest them to consider?
Generally speaking, if you have a lot of money, and generally speaking, the trend is like this. If you're purchasing, like I said before, if you're purchasing a residential apartment or a shop lot, which is a shop lot where people do business in Malaysia, like hair salon, car hire shops and stuff. These two are more stable in terms of rental income. Okay, if you're purchasing landed property, which are more towards home use, where people stay in landed properties in Malaysia, that's more towards price appreciation, because the rental market for landed property isn't that great in Malaysia. So depending which kind of return you are seeking for.
I see.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's something that I was curious. It's like not like I have it, but then if people audience have it, they'll consider. So I think this has been a really great interview. So what kind of takeaway do you have for the audience before they go?
Takeaway. Okay. Okay. So basically, No, my general piece of advice is, if you're looking to invest in Malaysia, really look carefully at the title before you put in your deposit. That's very important. 40% of the houses foreigners can't buy. Okay. And secondly, have a trusted agent in Malaysia that could help you with your property purchases. And of course, lastly, look at the rules and regulations from your local governments. If you're from China, if you're from Hong Kong, if you're from America, look out for those rules and regulations and restrictions in terms of investing in overseas.
Oh, there's a restriction on different nationality? Okay.
No, I mean, the own country.
I see.
If you're from China, then you have your Chinese actually have the investment restriction on.
Yeah.
That's what
I see. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So I think I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions regarding Malaysian real estate. What are a couple ways that people can reach out to you and talk to you more about, working together or more about the Malaysian real estate?
Definitely. You can find me on my LinkedIn account, which is Jensen Siow, JensenSiow, or you can add my WeChat, directly message me. My WeChat ID is Machokidd, MACHOKIDD. If not, you can always email me. My email address is jensensiow@gmail.com, which is JensenSiow@gmail.com.
I see. Now, obviously, I'll include everything in the show notes. And then I must say, this is a blast. Thank you so much for your time and effort. And then I want to do part 2 with you in the future. And then let's keep in touch. And then hopefully that we have a second round and you can come in, tell me more what's going on. And then, just want to say thanks for your time. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day. And then I wish you well. And then, let's have a drink next time if I ever come to Malaysia then.
Yeah, man. Of course.
Thanks for watching. What do you think of this episode? Please let us know in the comment below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button to keep in touch with us for upcoming videos. But before we go, I want to give a big shout out to Patina Design Lab. They're the one who help us in making our brand, our direction, as well as these videos. They are a strategic design consultancy firm that help businesses with a wide range of design services, from industrial design, branding, graphic design, art direction, content creation, and many more. They are a very talented bunch, and I urge you to check out their website for their work. That's all for today, and see you next time. Cheers.